Holland, here is Peter, the Dutch lumberjack, Aerts.
In a country of tulips, if a person wants to become a sportsman, there aren't that many alternatives. It's either kickboxing or football. Peter Aerts was a football player but made a final decision in favor of a fighting sport. He fought 150 times across his career. Not every person can brag with such a statistic. He had 108 wins and 35 defeats. I wanted to become a boxer when I was 6 years old, but my mother decided it was too dangerous. Then I went to Taekwondo, and later to kickboxing. Fortunately, my mother didn't know what kickboxing was. Despite his mother's caution, Peter's other relatives were sympathetic to the young Dutchman's fighting hobbies and even coached him. A grandfather and an uncle of the future superstar were boxing at amateur level, and the grandfather constantly offered young Peter to spar. The family idyll ended when during one of the spars he knocked out his grandfather's 2 teeth. That was the end of the relative's training zeal. Nevertheless, the guy himself became so fond of kickboxing and then of Thai boxing that he began to make significant progress. At the age of 21, he became the world champion in Muay Thai, and it is with the fight for the title of world champion that his nickname appeared. In 1991, Peter crossed paths in a title fight with Mark Russell. The fight lasted only 1 minute and 40 seconds, but during that time many things happened. At first, the young, dry Dutchman knocked him down with a right uppercut, but he got up and attacked hard, catching Peter in the face. However, his success was short-lived. Almost immediately, he flew into a second knockdown from a hard straight punch. Mark got up and, having failed to learn his lesson, went forward again and finally lost after the third knockdown from a powerful counterpunch of the Dutchman. According to Peter, after that fight his opponent's coach called him lumberjack. And since the Dutch's father worked in logging all his life, our hero liked the idea of such a nickname. After that, his friend Bas Rutten gave him a lumberjack jacket with crossed axes, and the nickname stuck. So Peter became the Dutch lumberjack. But in the end, it wasn't just as a Muay Thai world champion that Aerts became famous. Rather, his name was immortalized by his long career in the best fighting league in the world, K1. His opponents were not little-known fighters, but real superstars. Thus, Jerome Le Bonnet, Andy Hoog, and Maurice Smith crossed the ring with the Dutchman 4 times each. Ernesto Hoost and Sammy Schilt met the lumberjack 5 times each. The most critical opponent was White Rhino, Mike Bernardo, who Aerts fought 6 times. And more than once, these famous opponents flew away from hard knocks to the knockout. In 1995, for example, the Dutchman crossed paths with Jerome Le Bonnet at the K1 tournament. They fought for the first time and the fight ended in the first round. The Frenchman started to kick the Dutchman hard at his feet and almost immediately got his nose smashed to a bloody pulp in the clinch. After a hard knee exchange, they kept the distance. And immediately after that, Jerome was knocked out by a nice straight right to the body. These assassins met 3 more times, and in only one case did Peter lose, bringing the total score to 3-1 in his favor. A little later that year, Peter fought Mike Bernardo in a K1 tournament. It was their first meeting in the ring. The fight lasted only 40 seconds. Mike, after receiving some painful low kicks, went into the exchange and got hit by a right hand to the ear area and went on to be knocked out. Later, the guys met 5 more times and left the score tied, 3-3. Another notable fight Aerts had was with his longtime opponent in the ring and friend in life, Andy Hoog. The fight was in 1998, at the 1998 K1 World Grand Prix. The two fighters had met each other 3 times, and twice Hoog won, while Aerts won 1 time. The 4th fight was over in just over a minute. Feeding Andy with knees in a clinch, Peter hit with a powerful high kick that literally folded the legendary Swiss. Also, we can't not mention the 3-fight series between Aerts and Frank Lobman. Not that much of you know Frank, but he was one of the strongest kickboxers in terms of physique in the 80s. His rise up came before the existence of K1. Frank had crucial power and was training on a 400-kilogram heavy bag. He was an example of a knockout machine. And Aerts was supposed to fight that monster at the age of 20 and won. In the first fight, Aerts was close to defeat, but the star was already rising back then. He turned the fight to his favor and won by judges' decision. In the second and third fight, Aerts won by stoppage. Out of 19 final K1 tournaments, he participated in 18, which is a unique result. It's worth noting that he came to the 2009 tournament after the defeat and participated in backup fights, never coming out to replace the main competitors. I should explain, in K1 the final 8-fight tournaments were held in one night. 8 fighters fought each other on elimination, and only one became champion. In fights there were injuries, and sometimes the winner could not continue. So sometimes he was replaced by the reserve fighter. That's exactly what Peter was in that tournament. Also, Aerts fought in the final fight of these tournaments more often than anyone else, 6 times. And 3 times he won, becoming the K1 Grand Prix champion. And finally, under the aegis of the coolest organization K1, the Dutchman had 92 fights. No other fighter could repeat that. He had no less impressive but not unique achievements. 17 years passed between his first K1 fight and his last one. And his last fight in the finals of K1 was at the age of 40, although he lost to Alistair Overeem. Peter started his professional career in 1987, but his last fight was on January 19, 2020. Thus, the Dutchman had been treading the ring for 33 years. And what's especially nice is that his last 2 fights so far have ended in early victories. In 2019, Christian Mueller suffered from him. The fight, held in Germany, ended in the first round, when the loaded Peter, staggering his opponent with a straight left, finished him off with a knee to the body. Kusunoki Jiro, who fought Peter in 2020, lasted until the second round. In the first round, he mainly took the blows of the Dutchman, sometimes responding well and even provoking his opponent into strikes. But in the second round, everything changed. Getting a 2-punch to the face, Jiro went down into a knockdown. The referee stopped the fight and declared the Dutchman the winner after Jiro got up and ate a low kick to the shin. The whole image of Aerts, his fighting style, his technique, his willpower, his list of opponents, and his whole path in kickboxing, all this is fully consistent with the idea of professional kickboxing. Moreover, his fighting style shaped professional kickboxing to what it is today. That's why we love professional kickboxing. Uncompromising, a knockout style of fighting, mostly middle and close range. That's exactly how Aerts has always fought. He was one of the first to preach this style at a time when the face of kickboxing was still forming. He was radically different from Hoost, with his clean technique from Sikatich, with his distant manner from Hoog, who used in his fight blows that no one else used. Aerts always went forward with fairly simple techniques, which he combined into short combinations. But the power of his simple punches were devastating. At the same time, he could not be called a straightforward fighter. Aerts' defense allowed him to always impose on his opponent a comfortable distance and hit strictly on target. And his sense of timing allowed him to apply his destructive combinations strictly on time. At the same time, he never refused to fight in exchange, accepting any challenge. So it becomes clear why audiences have always loved him. If Aerts is in the ring, there will be a fight. The result may be unexpected, but the spectacle will be guaranteed. As a true knockout fighter should, most of Aerts' losses, as well as his wins, are by knockout. The list of his opponents is simply a list of the best kickboxers of all time. It contains the names of all the strongest fighters of his time, the best of the best. Aerts never picked second-tier fighters as some super champions do, even in kickboxing, even in boxing, even in MMA. He has fought every K1 Grand Prix winner or finalist, a meeting with each of whom would be career highs for many. But not for Aerts.